Hello friends, today we are going to learn about the categories of security as a service. That means in what category security as a service is in use of a consumer. Categories of security as a service. What security as a service is, we all know. Security basically it poses a major challenge to the widespread adoption of cloud computing. What does this means? That means the security as a whole over a complete environment or a complete system is very important part, and thus many of the companies which are using cloud computing are concerned about its security. Thus, when particular organization is in cloud computing, that means that security, the feature, it poses a major challenge for that particular organizations to the widespread adoption of cloud computing. That means if particular organization which is concerned about its cloud computing security, or it is in cloud computing and concerned about security, then the widespread, that means amongst other organizations, the adoption of security will be like it has a major challenge. That means cloud computing has to face that challenge and overcome it, and then there will be a widespread adoption of the technology. Yet an association of cloud users and vendors sees the cloud as a provider of information security services. The Security as a Service working group of the Cloud Security Alliance, a not for profit association formed by cloud computing stakeholders, issued a report that defines 10 categories of security services that can be offered over the cloud. See, so now here what it says is that there is an alliance of the providers or the service providers, and also the particular organizations or the particular firms which provide security as a service. Now they have a working group, so they made a alliance, that is Cloud Security Alliance, and it is a not for profit. That means it is not working to gain profit. So, not for profit association of the cloud computing stakeholders. Cloud computing stakeholders, that means those organizations who have their stake in that particular technology and who are the building blocks, say, consider. So, these cloud computing stakeholders, they had formed this cloud security alliance and they had issued a report. In that report they had mentioned 10 categories of security services which has to be offered when a particular consumer is using cloud computing services. Now what are those categories? They are, first is identity and access management. Now how it is one of the category of security as a service? It should provide controls for assured identities and access management. That means those identities, say for example, if I have a Gmail account, then I have a particular accessibility, I can access it. Then it has an identity management also. How does it manage those identities? Say for example, if I am going for an online transaction, I am using my debit card into that transaction. So what it asks for is, it asks for my CVV number, the name in the card, it asks for the expiry date of that particular card. And then when I am done with all these things, and the most important part is CVV, when I am done with providing CVV of the card, then what happens? To identify whether that particular card belongs to me and I am the one who is accessing it, or the transaction is authorized, so it sends an OTP to the user, and when the user is the authorized user or the identity matches, then the particular person provides the OTP and your transaction is fulfilled. In a similar way, when you are using any of the cloud services, then also you have to have your assured identities plus the accessibility to that particular resource. Identity and access management includes people, processes, systems that are used to manage access to enterprise resources by assuring the identity of an entity and is verified and is granted the correct level of access based on this assured identity. See, any of the account which you have in software as a service or in platform as a service, you need to prove that that particular account is your, and then that service provider, it verifies whether this is you or not. Audit logs of the activities such as successful and failed authentication and access attempts should be kept by the application or the solution. Now, this is what identity and access management is. Then second category is data loss prevention. What data loss prevention has to say is, in the monitoring or data loss prevention, what is data loss prevention? It is the monitoring, protecting and verifying the security of data at rest, in motion and in use in the cloud and on premises. Now, what data loss prevention means? That means your data should not be lost, or it is the prevention from the data theft, data lost, all these things. So what is it like and how it works? It is the monitoring of the data, protecting of the data and verifying of the data. The security of the data by these three things: one, monitoring, protecting and verifying. By these three things, we are providing the security of the data when the data is at rest. That means when the data is stored and kept there, you do not use it, that means the data is at rest. Then when data is in motion, that means when data is traveling from the source to destination as per the request of the customer or consumer. And then when the data in use, that means when we are using that particular information in any of the processes, whether it is in cloud or it is in on premise infrastructure or data center. Then data loss prevention services offer protection of data, usually by running as some sort of client on desktops or servers and running rules around what can be done. Within the cloud, data loss prevention services could be offered as something that is provided as part of the build, such as or such that all servers built for that client get data loss prevention software installed with an agreed set of rules deployed. Then, third category of security as a service is web security. In web security is the real-time protection offered either on-premise through software application installation or via the cloud by proxying or redirecting web traffic to the cloud provider. Then this provides an added layer of protection on top of things like AV to prevent malware from entering the enterprise via activities such as web browsing. Then policy rules around the types of web access and the times that is acceptable also can be enforced via these web security technologies. See, now here what kind of a security is provided by this web security? In this is considered as real time protection. Real time protection, that means when the particular client or the consumer is actually working on that data or on that particular program or process, then this is the real time, when it is in the real world or it is running at that time. So how it is done? It is done by either the software or appliance installation or application installation that can be done. That means sometimes we have those protection softwares and then they are running and your data is protected. And other thing, via the cloud. Now how via cloud? By using proxy or by redirecting this particular web traffic. Since we are working in web security, it is a real time particular environment. So when redirecting the web traffic to that particular cloud provider who is giving us the security as a service, or in which we are using that particular application or web program. And also it provides an added layer of protection to the particular application or software which we are running on top of it when it is running or executing. So it prevents malware from entering into that particular object. Say for example, if you are browsing a particular video in YouTube, so in that time, this is web security, it is real time protection, and on that it has added a layer of protection on top of that audio video program which is running on YouTube, so that any of the malware will not be able to enter to that program as well as to the consumer or client's computer. Then another category is email security. What email security has in it is, it should provide control over inbound and outbound email, thereby protecting the organization from phishing and malicious attachments, enforcing corporate policies such as acceptable use and spam, and providing business continuity options. Other thing which this solution should allow is for policy based encryption of emails, as well as integrating with various email server offerings. Digital signatures enabling identification and non repudiation are features of many cloud email security solutions. See, now what is this? Here it means that any of the email which is inbound that is coming to the consumer, outbound going from the consumer, they should be protecting, or that email should be protected by the phishing. That means, see, most of us know what phishing emails are. Phishing emails are like mailing the particular person some kind of information that you have that draw, or you have that particular account, you need to give this details, and then accessing all those details of that particular customer, and this is known as phishing. That means using the information of any of the person by taking that information from that person itself, but unknowingly, and using it for the non beneficial purpose of that person. And then malicious attachment, that means sending any of the files which could add bug to that particular client's system or machine, that can be malicious attachments. Then enforcing any of the corporate policies which is not acceptable by the user. And then spam mails, we all receive all kinds of spam mails, and then by all these things we are protecting a particular client's email account or any of the email services which that particular client is using, and then providing the business continuity to that organization or company. Then this solution should be policy based, policy of encryption of emails, as well as integrating with various email service offerings. Then digital signature should also be enabled while accessing that email services by a organization. So it should have the non repudiation feature. That means that particular person or the organization which has its that services of email security or accessing it as security as a service should have that feature of non repudiation, so that it cannot deny that I have done this or I have committed to that particular acceptance of these services policies, etc., that they cannot deny of the services which they have agreed to the terms. Another category of security as a service is security assessments. Now what security assessment has is, these are the third party audits of cloud services or assessments of on premises systems based on industry standards. Then, traditional security assessments for infrastructure and applications and compliance audits are well defined and supported by multiple standards such as NIST, ISO, and CIS. A relatively mature tool set exists, and a number of tools have been implemented using the software as a service delivery model. See, security assessment means assessing the securities that is being provided by the cloud services to the consumer. So how you can assess that thing, and it has been done by the third party and not by the cloud service vendors and the consumers. So it has all the audits of the services which is being provided, and then what it should be have, and the standard should be maintained as per the authorities or standardized authorities like NIST, ISO and CIS, thus maintaining a particular decorum that these services should be up to the mark which has been designated. And in the software as a service delivery model, subscribers get the typical benefit of this cloud computing variant: elasticity, negligible setup time, low administration overhead, and pay per use with low initial investment. Thus, these are all the things which are being involved in this security assessment of security as a service. Then, the another category is intrusion management. Intrusion management is the process of using pattern recognition to detect and react to statistically unusual events. This may include reconfiguring system components in the real time to stop, prevent an intrusion. That means either to stop that intrusion if it is being initiated, or it has to be prevented so that the intrusion do not reach to that particular area. Then, this method of intrusion detection, prevention, and response in physical environment are mature. However, the growth of virtualization and massive multi-tenancy is creating new targets for intrusion and raises many questions about the implementation of the same protection in cloud environments. Then another category of security as a service is security information and event management. What does security information and event management do? Systems accept log and event information. This information is then correlated and analyzed to provide real time reporting and alerting on incidents, events that may require intervention. The logs are likely to be kept in a manner that prevents tampering to enable their use as evidence in any investigations. Another category for security as a service is encryption. Now, what does encryption say? We all know what encryption is. Encryption means coding of a particular data that is being transmitted from source to destination in certain format so that it cannot be accessed by any other or third party. So here systems typically consists of algorithms that are computationally difficult or infeasible to break along with the process and procedures to manage encryption and decryption, hashing, digital signatures, certificate generation and renewal, key exchange, etc. See, now what here they do, they have some kind of a security algorithms for encryption of the data. Now they are computationally difficult, or we could say it is infeasible, or they are infeasible to break along with the processes and procedure to maintain. Now these processes, that means the running program and procedures that follows, or the processes that follows those procedures to manage encryption and decryption of the data which is there used in the program, or the information which is being used in a process. Hashing is another technique of encryption. Digital signatures, that means they are verifiable, you cannot use it. And then certificate generation, that means the data or information which we are sending is authenticated and is original without any intrusion. And renewal and key exchange is being done in encryption. It is a complete process of encryption. We all know there is public and private key encryption, symmetric, asymmetric key encryption. So all these things are included in those technique in cloud computing when it is providing security as a service. Then another category here is business continuity and disaster recovery. What business continuity and disaster recovery here has is they are the measures designed and implemented to ensure operational resiliency in the event of any service interruptions. Business continuity and disaster recovery provides flexible and reliable failover for required services in the event of any service interruptions, including those caused by natural or man made disasters or disruptions. Here, cloud centric business continuity and disaster recovery makes use of the cloud's flexibility to minimize cost and maximize the benefits. So, here, business continuity, what do we mean by disaster recovery here? First thing. So, disaster recovery, we all know that in case of any kind of disaster that has occurred to the data center, or it is on premise data center, off premise data center, or to the complete system of your particular organization infrastructure as a system, it is provided by cloud computing. So what happens, any kind of disaster that occurs, your data should not be gone, your information should not be gone, all the network should work as it is. So how it is possible? It is possible because of this disaster recovery procedure. How disaster recovery is done? It is done by replication, or you could say the mirroring of data, images, mirroring of the complete system, you could say. So whenever a data center or any of the system is there, due to any disaster or due to any certain kind of a fault, in case of any attack, anything, if that particular data center or the system is not working, but the client or the consumer should not be known that the particular system from which it was accessing or working is not working at that moment, the person should continue its data, information should not be lost. So this is business continuity, that means the process is being continuing and the data in the disaster is not lost, it can be recovered whenever the particular organization wants. So your information is never lost and business continues to grow. This is business continuity and disaster recovery, and it is provided by security as a service, or it is one of the category of security as a service, we could say. Then the another thing is network security. Another category here is network security. It consists of security services that allocate access, distribute, monitor, and protect the underlying resource services. That means it is allocating the services, underlying services. It is allocating the accessibility to those particular services which is underlying there. It is distributing those underlying resources, monitoring those resources, and protecting the resources from the intrusion or the attacks. Architecturally, network security provides services that address security controls at the network in aggregate or specifically addressed at the individual network of each underlying resource. In a cloud virtual environment, network security is likely to be provided by virtual devices alongside traditional physical devices. Thank you.